The pineal gland and the pituitary gland are the alchemical sun and moon. The pituitary gland is the seat of the earthly, lunar nature and the black Kundalini. It is positioned lower than the pineal and is the master of earthly processes, desires, fixations and ambitions, being the left hand of God. The pineal gland is the heavenly seat of the solar nature and the white Kundalini. It is positioned higher than the pituitary and is the master of higher consciousness. It is the rock upon which the mystic path is walked, and by which the temple of light is constructed, being the right hand of God. This mirrors the idea of the two serpents, one good, one evil, in a constant battle over who will win the egg of the world, which is the thalamus, being egg-like in its appearance, or what I call the Godhead, or lamp of God. The left-hand path is ruled by the pituitary, and is the way of the goddess in her lunar nature. The right-hand path is ruled by the pineal gland, and is the way of the Godhead, the lamp of God in the skull, the thalamus, which is anointed by the goddess in her virgin state. The pituitary gland is tied to the generative organs, or the earth light, and routinely leads consciousness downward through the sex organs. The pineal gland, as the right-hand path, leads the generative forces upward into the lamp, or the Godhead of illumination, which is where the alchemical marriage between sun and moon, male and female, God and goddess, takes place. It is the goddess becoming virgin to all but God, or the Godhead. The pineal refines the operation of the pituitary in the process of enlightenment of the brain, and the freedom from generative exhaustion. The pelvis is the spade, which digs the grave of mortality. The skull is the lamp that leads us to immortality. The Lord's right hand is lifted high. The Lord's right hand has done mighty things. Once the matrix of the black Kundalini has been dismantled and conquered through transmutation and higher aspiration, then the soul moves into the pineal gland, being an initiation into the mystic life. This is what it means to be born again. The black Kundalini, which is actually the quintessence locked in our consciousness and primal conditioning, must be liberated from blind nature and become an evolutionary force of wisdom which catalyzes all mystical unfoldment and liberation. It is the mythological princess being saved from darkness and evil by the shining knight who frees her from her lost and darkened state. This is the solar consciousness, overriding the lunar unconsciousness and deceptive nature. It is the marriage of the sun and the moon. The knight saves the princess, so that the princess can ultimately save the knight in the alchemical marriage. The Greek hero Perseus marries the princess Andromeda after rescuing her from the sea serpent Cetus, which is another face of the black Kundalini. Perseus also decapitates the serpent-headed Medusa, symbolizing the conquering of the lunar nature, which is transmuted to serve the solar nature. Moses raises the serpent upon the staff in the wilderness, symbolic of the movement from pituitary to pineal. Everyone in the desert is being bitten and killed by the black Kundalini under the influence of the pituitary. But Moses transforms the black serpent into the white serpent by raising his consciousness into the pineal gland, which now turns water into wine, which feeds the hidden lamp in the skull, the Godhead. Once the soul is established in the pineal gland as solar consciousness, the entire reproductive and generative nature is transmuted upward into the fertilization of the heart, throat, eyes and brain, and other major glands and organs. The attractions and desires for erotic involvements are completely transcended. So long as the soul is seated in the pineal, higher aspirations are close and temptations are far. Black magic is the attempt to become godlike while seated in the pituitary gland. The error is that whatever you attain under the influence of the black Kundalini will be erased by the white Kundalini once the move is made from pituitary to pineal. The black light of the pituitary is a false divinity, a world of phantoms and illusions, which to the unilluminated, these things are taken as real and worth chasing. The dark night of the soul is essentially the breakdown of this false world as we approach the real world in the seat of the pineal. Thus, the unilluminated, building a temple of shadows in the pituitary, believing that they are adepts, masters, and living gods, have not even placed a single foot on the path. Very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they are born again. Meditation and contemplation are experienced differently depending on where the soul is seated. Seated in the pituitary, there may be much psychological and biological phenomena, both positive and negative, but little to nothing happening as it relates to the mystic path, unless one is ready to move into the pineal, which requires a carefully set foundation, or what I call laying the first stone of innocence. When the soul is seated in the pineal, the gland itself will become aroused without any effort, and will vibrate what feels like a bee buzzing in the center of the head. As this occurs, between the thalami there is the third ventricle, or the wound of Christ, which will start to weep and become anointed, releasing the ambrosia or the manna which has been gathered and stored along the mystic path. This nectar will seep down into the chalice of the heart, where it is pumped throughout the entire body, through what could be described as a new nervous system, which conceives the temple of divine light, which in the East is called enlightenment. Once the sun and moon, or the solar and lunar natures have merged, the philosopher's stone is conceived, and the alchemical process is complete. This moves the mystic from the right-hand path to the no-hand path. This is the highest state a human being reaches before total transcendence. In India, this is the Jivan Mukta, the liberated sage, free from all bounds and illusions of Maya, or the matrix of the black Kundalini. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. Visit the interior of the earth. By purifying, you'll find the hidden stone.